And the story really begins with a loss of cultural power. Because evangelical Protestants, which is what they called themselves, were culturally central in American life in the 19th century, the second half of the 19th century. And over the space of just a couple decades, they very quickly were exiled from cultural power. And so I want to take us through the story of what happened in the 100 years that followed that. 4 generations of biblical Christians trying to make something of culture and trying to figure out their posture toward culture. So let's think about the postures that our forebears, maybe not literally our ancestors, but our spiritual brothers and sisters, took toward culture over the course of about 100 years. The fundamentalists were the first generation after the loss of cultural power for Christians. And their posture towards culture was largely to condemn it. They withdrew from it. They were suspicious of it because it was being taken over by people who didn't believe what they believed, liberal Protestants and then eventually secular humanists. And so condemnation became the basic posture, the basic orientation toward culture was to be suspicious and withdraw. Their children found this a little constricting and not very satisfying. And their children called themselves the neo-evangelicals. They named themselves after the evangelicals of the 19th century who had been engaged in culture. Well, the neo-evangelicals said, let's critique culture. And one of their signal figures was this man named Francis Schaeffer, who attracted young Christians and non-Christians from all over the world to this little home up in the mountains in Switzerland, where they would ask questions about modern culture, modern philosophy, modern jazz, modern art. And rather than withdrawing from it because it was made by people who didn't believe what Schaeffer believed, he said, let's actually engage with it. Let's ask some critical questions. Not in the sense of being sort of negative, but just asking, what's the worldview here? What are the presuppositions? What is this culture trying to yearn for? And how might we who bear the gospel meet it in a conversation? So critique became the posture of the evangelicals.